Sal, can you lead us to the pledge, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting the good fight in Ukraine, and to our community beloved Fran Smith, who passed away last week. Thank you. Katie?
Yes, for those who'd like to read along, I think there's some copies. This is the America's Creed. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment?
Sal, do we have anybody for public participation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In front.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm here just because I'd like to say that it was a lovely, lovely weekend. We had a Irish road bowling tournament that Mr. Cosgrove, this is his second year, and that was great. But on the green, yes, 123 Candlewood Mountain Road, New Milford. On the green, we had a wonderful art festival, and I have to thank Janet and John Whitman. So many people came up to me and said to me on Sunday, sent me notes saying what a great time they had. It was beautiful to see all those vendors, artisans, and people everywhere. Stores had tables out. We're having sales, you know, Christmas in July. So between that, the ice cream, what are you calling it, a chase?
Ice cream crawl.
A crawl, right. If you have all that ice cream, you have to crawl. And the road bowling in the morning, it was just really a spectacular weekend, and I just think it was so typical of why we are the best town in the USA.
Mr. Zachary?
Good evening, Mayor Bass. Good evening, committee. My name is Sergeant Zachary Schooler. I live at 37 McNulty Drive. I was raised in New Milford. I graduated from New Milford High in 2015, and I recently completed 8 years of honorable service from the United States Marine Corps. I'm here tonight to discuss our third annual Recovery Run and Festival taking place next month on August 27th. Having grown up here, I have been directly impacted by the enormous loss within our community. In doing so, Coach Tony and I decided to do something about it 3 years ago. First off, I'd like to thank those who have supported us in the past. You have made this event what it is. Thank you. I'm here tonight to ask the community for help. This is a very expensive event, and it costs thousands of dollars to pay for. Police bills, latrines, permits, recovery advisory expenses. I ask, please come down and support us. Don't just vote. Help us. Be a part of this event. To the business leaders in our community and sympathetic families, we have a variety of sponsorship opportunities that really help us offset the cost of recovery weekend activities. To those who can't contribute financially, we understand, and that's okay. We have volunteer opportunities, or simply bring your family down for a beautiful day of family-free fun. We want to bring the community together and show the rest of Connecticut what New Milford is really about. Before I go, I'll leave you with our motto. Let's keep going.
Thank you.
Gilbert?
Mayor, members of the committee, I'm not sure if you know who I am or not. My name's Leanne Gilbert. raised my boys here in New Milford. Lived in New Milford since 2000. Lost my 21-year-old 7 years ago to overdose, heroin, fentanyl. I just recently donated, with the help of friends and family, some money to the new library, where we dedicated a corner called the Healing Library, which addresses addiction, recovery, and resources, a place for people to go for information, all in my son's name. We would like to do an actual dedication during this Recovery Weekend Festival. I'm here to ask for everyone's support, if we could attend, if we could possibly donate time, volunteer, but it's a really important cause and something that I hold very close to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gilbert, can I get your address, please?
Sure. My current address? 398A Federal Road, Brookfield. Thank you.
Coach Connie?
Good evening, friends. Nice to see you all again. My name is Coach Tony Morrissey. I reside on Mine Hill. I've been a resident here in New Milford for quite a long time. I'm an old man, so it really comes up quickly. I'm here tonight on behalf of my son, who I lost 1,444 days ago today. He struggled with substance use disorder and passed away on August 10th, 2019. And since that day, my family and I have vowed to make sure that we create a forum and a community, a set of community activities that can bring awareness to this devastating problem, which is, as you can see, impacted not just my family. This is not a one New Milford family problem. The truth is that this is pervasive. New Milford is not a bad town. It's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing town, but it is not immune from the overdose epidemic, which has ravaged the entire globe. 103,000 Americans last year. That's more than Afghanistan, Iraq, and Vietnam combined. The numbers continue to rise. It's gotten worse since my son passed away. And we can do two things. We can just say, you can't fix it, or we can all come together and we can collaborate on amazing events like United States Marine Corps Sergeant Schooler's Overdose Awareness 5K and Recovery Festival. It actually is just one of a weekend full of events, of activities taking place the last weekend of August. So on the 25th of August, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for allowing us to do the opening ceremonies, where we will basically proclaim that the weekend is dedicated to celebrating hope, helping those that are struggling, and bringing resources to help anybody and the families of those that are struggling. We are going to highlight the beautiful memorial in the library for Ms. Gilbert's son, Clayton, and honor those other children that we've lost. On Saturday evening at the Max, we are going to have a free dinner and a movie. We would invite everybody to come and participate, as long as we don't get over that 150 fire limit. But we would like you to come and join us. There's a documentary that was done by somebody here in Connecticut that has also been impacted. Ms. Lisa Dean from Demand Zero. She's an incredible woman who created a documentary about this. So we'll have a free dinner, a movie, and we'll have a Q&A panel with subject matter experts that can help you respond to any questions that you may have. And then, of course, our Super Bowl event is on Sunday, August 27th, starting with a 5K down at Youngsfield Road at 0 dark 30, right, Sarge? Actually, registration starts at 7:45 a.m. The race will begin promptly at 8 o'clock because we got a Marine behind us, and they're tight on that stuff. And then after that is done, activities will commence on the green. We will have crafters and vendors. We will have live music. We will have a recovering artist exhibits. We will have amazing fun activities for the children, all of which are free, to include magic shows, face painting, bouncy jumpies, carnival games, cotton candy, all for free, because our goal with this event is to bring the community together and to really educate the community that this is not a bad family problem. Good families are being impacted, and you could be one. You don't know, okay? And if you do find yourself in that predicament, we want you to know there's people you've never met that you can come and talk to, that have learned very painful lessons and have very, very good advice on how to navigate this unbelievably painful epidemic that we're going through. So I will just reiterate, the last weekend in August, the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, we are hosting a whole bunch of free activities, and we would love for everybody on the council and everybody in the community to come join us, please, and just be part of this this day of hope and celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
No more public participation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Katie?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to suspend the rules to change on item 7. We have a rather misleading clerical error under the housing partnership. I do not live at 43 Long Mountain Road. Would change that to 123 Candlewood Mountain Road in the minutes, if you would, Stephanie.
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody want a motion on that, or?
Give a second to the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
No,
This
no,
was
this
to
is just,
suspend the rules.
just the correction.
Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Did people vote?
Yep.
Yep. All set, okay. Item number 4, I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda, items 4A, B, and C.
Second.
Like to mention for item C, Parks and Rec would like to thank the Living Stones Community Church for their $750 donation for their 8-mile and 5K road race. They ask that the monetary donations be deposited into Recreation Revenue Account 104-50500-44709. And again, they would like to thank all the donors for their generosity.
Any discussion?
Mayor Jane.
Mary Jane?
So, just a correction on the last minutes, in the part about Butterbrook, it wasn't Teresa McSpadden, it was, I don't know who Teresa you had down there, but you had Teresa McSpadden, and she's not, has nothing to do with Butterbrook, so, on the,
It was a Teresa, I assume it was Teresa.
no, it's not, it's just, I have no
I'll
idea.
get you Teresa from Buffalo.
So if you can get her name off there, that would be awesome, thank you.
Any other? Doug?
Hey, just one note, I was absent at that meeting, that president.
Okay.
Fix that.
Yeah, I just had, I don't really know how to make an edit of it, but I think it was really, this entire description of what occurred was shortened to such an extent that it doesn't really reflect what happened, so maybe, I don't know. Would you like me to supply it?
They
This
don't
is,
have to be, they only have to be motions, so.
right, I think I asked 2 or 3 questions in that transaction, but those aren't in here, so maybe we could watch the video and do it again, or would you like me to submit an edit? Because I can certainly do that.
What item were you talking about? Sorry.
Oh, Mayor Bass showed a video on
Oh.
January 10th.
Correct.
2022?
Oh, on the 10th, okay.
Uh-huh,
That's what
and
I was-
then I had asked some questions, like, was the report from the municipal building committee attached to this report? Because I couldn't see, I wasn't here. So I had asked several questions over the phone, but they're not in here. So if you want, I can provide you those questions. They're on the video as well.
Do that.
I mean,
Council
yeah,
can
minutes
look at them
aren't
again.
supposed to
It doesn't have to be
fully
it doesn't have to be
represent
everything,
what
but this certainly just cut off the conversation one-sidedly, certainly, yeah.
Okay. Mayor, item 5, your comments?
Oh, is there, that motion been approved?
Say what?
We need to vote on the
Oh, I thought we
minutes.
did. I'm sorry, I
No.
got carried away.
Any
I wrote
other
okay
discussion
on
on the
it.
minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Good idea.
You're abstaining?
Okay.
You got
Next.
everybody? Mayor's comments.
Thank you, Katie. First, would like to welcome Catherine Riley. She's our new library director. So it's great to have Catherine. I asked her when she gets up to speed to come to the council and give kind of a little bit of an update, but welcome to Catherine. Also want to thank New Milford lifeguard Connor Caradad, as on Sunday saved a young girl who was coming back from towards the buoys back to shore, couldn't make it, head went underwater. Connor immediately went and brought the young girl in to shore safely. So again, thank you to all our lifeguards, and specifically thank you to Connor. I believe that's the second save this year so far. Katie, you had already talked about thanking Denise, Janet, and John Whitman for the Artisan Festival that we had on the green. Tremendous success. It was great to see a lot of smiling faces, people thinking that was kind of like the old Village Fair days, so that was great. And they're already looking forward to making it an even better event for next year. Also, the Artisans Festival, they donated $500 to the Village Center of the Arts for their scholarships. And then a match of $500 was made by Joyce Van Lines, so it was $1,000 to the VCA, so that's great for our local kids. And Councilman Cosgrove, I want to thank you, Steve Looney, Connor McCabe, the entire Litchfield County Irish Club for the road bowling benefit that you had for Mike Dusky and his family. And for those who don't know, Mike did pass due to a medical condition, and through the tournament, you guys raised $14,525 for that family. Absolutely amazing. And for those that know, medical costs are through the roof. It was definitely amazing for their family. So thank you. Also want to thank Frank and Teresa for the Abbeys. They used it as kind of the focal point, and all they do and benefit for our community as well. I want to thank Gary Goldring, Meredith, and Kaylee from the Bank Street Group, as last Thursday's Rock the Block was, they've been big, but last week was just huge.
It's crazy, yeah.
And great to see so many people coming and attending, and it's great for the downtown and for the community, so thank you to them. I want to congratulate Brandon and Emily Merritt as they reopened Nordica Toys on Main Street on Saturday, and they redid the interior inside, so if you get a chance to go in, if you need to buy some toys for some young ones, and I'll be doing that in November.
Yes,
I'll
indeed.
become a grandfather.
Yes, you will.
So I'm psyched
Yes,
about
you
that.
will.
So,
Do they have Crimson
very
Tide
excited
stuff
about
in
that.
there?
I don't think that, but they got some toys, so that's going to be cool.
Barbie doll.
They can't afford it.
Oh, they probably have Barbies.
So that's all great news. And as far as events, we've got some events that are going to be happening. We have this coming Saturday, we have the New Milford Arts, Commission on the Arts Outdoor Art Festival. And Village Center of the Arts will also be bringing some of their kilns out, and kilns, and their pottery wheels. So that'll be happening as well. It'll be face painting, artists, music, and that kicks off, it starts at 10, and that's from 10 to 5 a.m. Also on Saturday morning, you also have the Historical Societies doing their tag sale from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then the Connecticut Militia, which is our semi-pro football team, will have another home game there, which is great. On the 29th, as we spoke about a little bit earlier as well, 8:30 a.m., so that's right before the Commission on the Arts, is the Park and Rec is going to be doing their 5K run, their road race. They're also going to have a kids' fun run as well, so that ought to be pretty cool and exciting. So they bring a lot of people into town. At 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Harrybrook Park is the Hog Wild Obstacle Course. And then that's on the 29th. And then on the 29th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Don Clady's doing his New Milford Car Show. And he's telling me it's going to be bigger and better than ever. Going to be a lot of like movie cars that are going to be there, like a Batman car, I believe.
And where is it?
It's going to be at Pettibone. Then on August 5th at 7 p.m. on the Green is the first of the Edwin Kincaid concert series, Country Steel, and that's the Commission on the Arts. Also on August 11th, from noon to 2 at Harrybrook Park is the Lions Club Senior Citizens Annual Picnic. So if you're a senior and you're interested, you can get your tickets available at the Senior Center. On the 12th, is the second Edward Kincaid concert series, Billy and the Showmen, that starts at 7. At 6, on August 12th, will be another Connecticut Militia home game. Then on the 13th, Evolve presents free community yoga from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 on the Middle Green. So if you're interested and want to know more about yoga, or you do yoga already, it's a free community event. And then on the 17th, 6:30 p.m. on Bank Street, Rock the Block concert, again, the Pop Rocks. And big local band, and they play some great tunes, 80s, 90s. They do a great job, so definitely if you get a chance, come in there and support everybody. Then also, Katie, real quick, some of the things infrastructure-wise that we have happening is we continue our paving projects for our roads here. Candlewood Lake Road North and Mockingbird Lane, I believe, got their top course. I believe it was today. Drainage work continues for Bear Hill and Bostwick, and we're going to do all the Bear Hills this year. Big Bear, Little Bear, Bear Hill, so that they're all working on that. KSE Engineering is who we awarded the study and recommendations for the intersections at Grove Street and at Hine Hill and Fordyce, and we're going to be, once we get more into that, we'll be bringing it up for an update for our council. Also, DPW is analyzing the Upland Road drainage system. We saw some flooding due to the massive amounts of rain that we did have. So we're looking at how we can help with that with some additional drainage. Also, we're looking at some of the reconstruction of bridges, Upland Road being one of them. Also, we are going for inland wetlands to review Wheaton Road, Sand Road, and Van Car Road bridges. As far as East Street School, I'll be talking a little bit about that on the economic development update. And so as far as traffic, I asked the chief to give us weekly updates now as far as traffic and where we are. So for motor vehicle stops, so far this year, we've done 1,061 traffic stops. This time last year, we had done 893. As far as motor vehicle accidents, this year is 492. 83 of them were in parking lots. Last year, this time, was 517, and 79 were in parking lots. One accident is too many, but we continue to see a downtrend, which is good. And in speaking with the chief, his thoughts as to why we're seeing some reductions is obviously additional traffic enforcement, also getting out the word, whether it be through Notify New Milford, whether it be through our social sites and other people. Social sites, I think, creates an awareness where we are seeing lower numbers, and we're going to continue to work on other ways. For instance, the signs that we had purchased through ARPA funding, putting those out as we do, showing that you're going faster. And those, as the chief had talked about before, he actually gleans data off of that, so that if we see a big bulge of certain time where we have lots of speeding, that's when he's going to put one of the traffic enforcement officers there to help lower those speeders, so to speak. And I think that's it, Katie.
Alrighty.
Yes.
An infrastructure question. I've had some people contact me, residents. What's going on 67? There are a lot of markings, and then up in Meadowbrook and Old Ridge Road up there, it seems like it's a huge project because of the...
Yeah, that's Aquarian Water, and Aquarian Water is going to be replacing a water main there, and that's what it is.
So it's new piping, or?
Yeah, they're going to put a new water main in.
Okay.
A lot of the infrastructure up here when it comes to water mains is very old and antiquated, and some of these were community water systems, and so Aquarium has purchased them and now is going to be making these upgrading investments.
But aren't those all wells up there, private wells?
Some of them are. Some of them are community wells as well.
Up on Old Ridge and Meadowbrook?
So the goal is they're going to put in new water mains,
Right.
and then they are going to pay, once it's done, they're going to pay from shoulder to shoulder as the length of the water main.
Okay, but private residents could still be on their own wells?
Oh,
or-
absolutely.
Or choose to
Yep.
be on this? It's not going to be like a mandate or?
No, no, no. These are already community wells that already have their people and have already been there.
And that's what's going on across from Big Y? That's the start of it?
So Big Y, what that is, actually, you're going to see the building to the left.
Yeah.
A brand-new building. That's Aquarian Waters. That's where one of their main feeds are. So they're actually putting that in there for an major infrastructure improvement.
Okay.
I believe that's about a $3.5 million project there.
And they've tested the water and all that? 'Cause
Oh,
there's
yeah.
been
That's where the
recent-
major aquifers are.
Okay, so, and what's the test results? What are the results?
They test it all the time. I can ask
They do.
Aquarium
Okay,
for info if you'd like, Hillary.
yeah, thanks.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Right.
Item 6. I'd like to put my glasses on first. I'd like to move that we close on August 27th, 2023 for the USMC Sergeant Zachary Schooler, who we just heard from. This will be the annual Overdose Awareness 5 and Recovery Festival. It's a race. It's the third annual race, and it will be on Sunday, August 27th, 2023, with a rain date of September 9th, 2023, and they would like and will be closing with the approval of the Traffic Authority. Youngsfield Road, all the way up to Medenstill from 7:15 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., and the Church Street crossover from 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Second. Sorry, give that one a call, please.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item number 7, I'd like to move the following appointments to the Zoning Commission: Mario Scalfani, an alternate position, term from July 24th, 2023, January 31st, 2026. For the Housing Partnership, 2-year term, Katie Francis.
Francis, 123 Candlewood Mountain Road,
Thank you.
7/24/23 to 1/31/2025.
Yes, sir.
So you didn't move?
No, I did not, and Mario's here, and he can attest to the fact I'm not hiding out in the house.
Is there a second to the,
Do we have a second on the
Yes.
motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Mary Jo?
Katie, is this a reappointment for you? Weren't you on the House?
Yes, I was. They had a, I don't know, some sort of clerical thing, and they took some people off. The mayor can tell you the exact term, but it
Yeah,
was
so
an
I'd ask
error.
Noreen, what's the easiest way to do it? She's like, just reappoint her. I'm like, okay.
But you've been on it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was a surprise to me.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Whoops, I'm sorry, Hillary.
No, just only a question for you, Katie, is that, is this 3 or 4 committees that you're on?
I don't know, Hillary, I don't keep track of them.
Well, I just,
They're all
my only
different
concern
days.
is for you,
You're
right?
concerned
To be
for me?
able to.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm
Thank
very
you.
concerned
That's
for
nice
you,
of you.
Katie.
That's nice of you.
And I'm also concerned for the committees, because
Are
we,
you? They're
we-
not.
Yeah.
They're happy down
Okay.
there.
Oh,
so.
well, then if you're all
actually,
square
there are
about
a
it,
lot
and you
of
show up every
vacancies.
time you're needed, that's great.
There's a lot of vacancies on this particular committee.
Mm-hmm.
As last I looked, unless some of those other people were removed in error as well. But, no, I'm fine.
I wish
Thank
there was
you.
more Katie Francis out there to help out.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Probably are if they got appointed.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item number 8, we'd like to have an update on the pop-up project by Tony Vengrove and Bobby Joe Beers.
And Ole.
And, Ollie, you're
Ole's the
right.
chairman of the Economic Development Corporation. Ole?
Is
Good
Bobby
evening.
Joe not here? Oh, I was wondering. I thought that's who you were. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor,
Ole?
council people. While we have some good news to bring to you this evening, I think it's important to also let you know why it might have taken us this long to get to this point. First of all, let me thank you again for your contribution to the pop-up program. The $25,000 you gave to us last year was very important to get this to where we are today. it was important for us, to the corporation, to achieve at least three major milestones before we got to this point that we're going to announce tonight. One is that we had a very strong administrative infrastructure in place so that when we did get entrepreneurs interested in the program, that we had sufficient rules and regulations in place that they could be confident that they could be successful. Two, that we had a space that was going to be an adequate space for them to be successful, and two, that was going to have high visibility in the community. And three, that we were going to have an adequate pipeline of entrepreneurs that the corporation and the board could be confident that when I do sign a lease, that we were going to have some good fiscal responsibility involved, and that we would be fiscally responsible going forward. So I believe we have those three milestones checked when we come before you tonight. In terms of the administrative function, with your funding, we were able to contract with Mr. Nick Gunkel, who was with us the night we presented the first time. He spent 3-4 months with us, developed the administrative procedures that we have with us now. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Nick, he was able to secure a full-time job with Advanced CT and is now working with the state of Connecticut. So he left us, but left us with those administrative procedures in place. In terms of the space, that became somewhat of a challenge that Mr. Vengrove will speak to when I turn the floor over to him. The entrepreneurial pipeline, I believe that when Mr. Vengrove talks about the public-private partnership that we're about to announce tonight, something that I know the mayor is always talking about and encouraging, that it's going to be something that I believe that the council will be pleased with. So without taking any more of your time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Tony Vengrove, who is the point person for the corporation with the pop-up program.
Thank you, Oli. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back in front of you and talking about this exciting project. Before I kind of dive into some of the detail, I'd just like to review the program objectives just to kind of ground us quickly in what we're trying to accomplish here. And there's 5 of them. The first is to recruit successful entrepreneurs currently having success running a business out of home or online to gain experience operating in a traditional brick and mortar retail space. Number 2, help small businesses build brand awareness and exposure through retail distribution in a highly trafficked store location. Number 3, to create and enroll businesses into a retail accelerator program led by an experienced and diverse mentor group of professionals who can coach business owners on an array of relevant topics. The goal is to assist with the planning and execution and funding of a retail store launch, if that's in fact what they're trying to accomplish. Number 4, help small business owners assess if their brand or products have potential for growth, both in terms of sales and distribution, retail versus wholesale. And lastly, build a pipeline of potential future retail store entrepreneurs for the community here. So as Mr. Karp mentioned, we kind of came out of the gate pretty strong last year. We were working with Bank Street Investments for their mainstream property there, and Mr. Gunkel and myself were in the process of recruiting folks. And like most entrepreneurial ventures, you kind of start learning whether some of your hypotheses were on target or some needed to be tweaked and some pivots needed to be made. And so what we discovered was that the cost was a little bit too high. So between what we were asking these entrepreneurs to invest plus expenses was a little too high than they were anticipating. Unfortunately, one of the media articles had a misleading headline that kind of insinuated the town was covering the rent. So that led to a little bit of disappointment in some cases when we were talking to entrepreneurs. The second factor was the space is beautiful. It was almost too big for one business to come in and take over the whole space. So, and then another big issue was after the entrepreneurs started to kind of peel back the onion on this opportunity, they realized, well, I'm running my business day to day today, and now I got to figure out how to staff and manage this kind of retail business on the side. So those were kind of the main issues that we experienced. And as we were approaching the holiday season, the landlord was asking us if we were going to make a final decision or not. And so, out of respect to them, we didn't want to hold up the space. And so we said, you know what, let's let them do what they need to do, so we can kind of figure some of these issues out. And we kept our eye. We talked to them to see if the deals were still in the works there. We approached other people on the green and off the green. But I'm pleased to say we kind of landed on an opportunity that I think resolved some of the issues that we were experiencing in the first time around. So that solution was to partner with Bobby Joe Beers, who owns & Co. on 36C Bank Street. She also has some successful retail business, Traveling Chic Boutique in Brookfield, and I forget the other, in Oxford. And as some of you probably are aware, she has a lot of great experience. She ran the chamber in Bethel and has done some other kind of interesting, innovative entrepreneurial programs for WestCon and Ridgefield, to name a couple. So, when Bobby Joe pivoted Traveling Chic Boutique into & Co., it became a somewhat similar mission to what we were trying to accomplish. So when we started talking, we realized very quickly that some of the things she cares about and is trying to do dovetail very nicely with the pop-up objectives. So we've come to an agreement on a MOU, and Bobby Joe is going to allow us to use the back portion of her store, which is a 17 by 10 section of the store. It has nice merchandising opportunities for entrepreneurs, nice opportunities for kind of us to brand it as the pop-up New Milford space within her store. And so that's going to become the primary place for us to begin this kind of program and journey and start building this thing and shaping it, which I still believe can grow into something bigger than what we're discussing. I mean, I think my dream would be to encourage landowners that have vacant properties that have been vacant for a long time and try to kind of, reinvigorate those spaces into kind of active places. And, maybe the pop-up program could be a way to make that happen, but that's, going to be a little bit more longer term. So that's the key part of where it's going to happen. We're going to be building an accelerator program. In fact, that's how I met Bobby Joe, when I was talking to a friend who's a professor at WestCon about who might be good mentors to help us out on this program. The first person she mentioned was Bobby Joe. And so she was spot on with that recommendation. But we were very grateful to receive a $10,000 grant from Union Savings Bank with the sole purpose of funding stipends and other kind of curriculum costs that will be associated with this accelerator program. We're asking businesses, the cost for rent for this space that I just mentioned is going to be $600 a month. We're asking the businesses to pay $200, and the corporation is going to offer a subsidy of $400 to bring that cost up to $600, which I think is going to be deemed very affordable. In order to be eligible for the subsidy, they will have to participate in the accelerator programming, and they'll have to put in a minimum amount of hours actually working in the store. I should note, because of the way Bobby Joe has set up her store and the members that are in there in the co-op, it kind of resolves the issue of having to have somebody in the store all the time, because now we have shared people within the & Co ecosystem to kind of help out. So I think that's going to be a great solution there. I don't know, several months ago, the mayor and Ole were speaking. They had this idea of maybe running a pitch competition as a way of our general outreach programming. And I love the idea, and we're going to target that for October of this year. That's probably the least amount of effort has gone into that because we've been working on this MOU and the accelerator program. But the reason why we're targeting October is we think the winners can be offered the use of the ANCO space in February and March, so just themselves. So one winner might get February, the other winner might get March, and so that would give us time to figure this out and find the right people that can maybe get closer to where we were with the initial vision of this program a few last year, excuse me. I'm also pleased, we had a decent response. I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed with the number of people that we got that were very, very interested. But one of those businesses was Create a Castle, and I'm like 99% sure that they're going to be our first customer in this. They're very excited because while they're having success with their current model, in-store kind of retail is something that's currently on their radar, and figuring out how to use retail for workshops and education to drive their business is something that's very important to them, so it's going to be a great opportunity for them. One of the other businesses that we spoke to that was very interested is actually in ANCO right now, and I think perhaps we can get her to consider trading up into the program a little bit with time. So in the with time being limited here, I'll just wrap up with a couple next steps. Well, actually, let me just mention, as Mr. Karp said, of the $25,000 that you generously donated to the cause here, Mr. Gunkel's contract came in a little bit under, and we spent about $13,800 of that 25 towards his 3-month contract, and only $536 of miscellaneous marketing costs. So that leaves us with $11,164 left, which we'll use to kind of for these subsidy grants and other marketing components for the program. So I think we're good on that front. And again, I'm excited to use a kind of a airline analogy. I think we've been on the tarmac for a while, but the plane's number one for takeoff, and we're all thankful to be hitting the runway. So we have a bunch of updates to the website. We just got to publish those with new application forms, and a lot of marketing and PR outreach is going to commence immediately. So with that, thank you again for your time, and I'll take any questions if you have any.
Katie?
Tony, so I was just going to ask you that, and you mentioned the website. So if anybody watching and listening would like to get an application or hear more about it, what is the website where they find that? REDC?
It's corporationnmed.org.
Corporation spelled out?
Yep.
Corporation NM.
.org.
.org.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
Tony, thanks for the information and the update. I appreciate it. The consultant's fee, what was his main output, the procedures and the plan that was documented?
Yes, and there's a little bit more of that. I mean, he and I collaborated in like writing a lot of copy for the website and PR. He spent a lot of time working with Bank Street on the preliminary lease for that space. Also drafted up a sublease agreement that would be the document between the corporation and the participating business. So there are a lot of things that were accomplished during his 3 months. He also helped with, in this case, it might not be as relevant, but we had timelines. We had a spreadsheet for criteria to evaluate applications, so there was, fairness and equity in that process. There was a good deal covered by him. Yeah.
Because I think, at least I was under the impression we would see a copy of the output of the procedures in that. Can we get a copy of that, what the result of kind of how this is going to operate?
Sure. Yeah.
And then your pipeline, so how deep is your pipeline? How many potential do you have?
Well,
I heard you mention
we're
like
working
2,
off the, again, we haven't, we're lifting up the veil, so to speak, tonight. But we're operating off the group of 15 people that we originally had, and we're revisiting that.
Okay.
And, I think, Mayor Bass and I had a conversation a while back that, if cost was like one of the limiting factors, I think we have something that's very, very attractive here
Right.
and feasible. So
Yep.
I think the barrier to participating has really come down a lot
Okay.
here.
All right.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I want to stop by and see the space soon, if that's all right.
Sure. Well,
Can I-
yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Remind me, thank you for the information as well, that was very helpful. Remind me the time frame that each company would be in there?
Sure.
Is it-
We're advising a minimum of a month. We just think anything less really isn't a fair shot to get a feel for what it's like to be in retail. The nice thing with Bobby Joe's store is if somebody's having success and likes it, we have a way for people to stay in the store. They might not be able to merchandise fully in the space I described, but she has other shelving units that they can stay within her ecosystem and stay in distribution there and keep going.
So that's the maximum, 30 days. I mean, so a month is the minimum and maximum?
Yes.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah. And I think the way Bobby Joe and I have agreed, if they want to stay on longer, I think they'll shift out of the relationship kind of with the corporation into just a relationship with Bobby Joe.
Thanks.
Sal?
I just have a question. Thanks for help on that one. So when the people want to participate in the program, do they have to submit like a market analysis, a business analysis, and do they have to write doesn't have to be KPMG like a Deloitte and Touche business plan, but some business plan that they did the homework, and when they get into that store or whatever that would be, that they basically penetrated the market somehow. Either it's going to be over the clicks or Google Analytics or whatever that would be, because it's going to give them some kind of a guideline whether or not they have a shot at what they're doing with the store they're going to have.
Yeah, to be honest, we didn't ask for a very detailed application that was going to require a lot of work.
Okay.
We kind of handled a lot of that in the one-on-one conversations we had with like interested people. But I think, my vision for this accelerator program is we're trying to build almost like a library of people with very specific expertise. Somebody could be, in terms of raising capital. Others will be like Bobby Joe, very experienced in starting and growing and scaling retail businesses. Others could be folks with expertise in doing retail and wholesale business and so forth. And through that accelerator program, we hope to kind of curate the experts that the specific business needs to work on their goals. So not every business is going to have the same retail goal. And some, I mentioned Creative Castle, certainly they're having tremendous success in many areas. But so they might not need like somebody to talk to them about selling into corporate buyers, for example, but they might need help understanding more of the nuance around operating and running a retail business. So
you think there's a need for like incubation of those, helping out those businesses when they get into the brick and mortar?
I think so, and talking to a lot of people, and Bobby Joe included. I mean, retail is a very unique, tough business, and so
Very tough.
and building community and sharing knowledge. It might not be the right decision for everybody, but getting involved and having a crack at it might help them understand that, a traditional brick and mortar might not be the best solution for me, but maybe wholesale is, and maybe we can help through the mentorship and the conversation get people to understand that. And if retail is right and that's what they want to do, then there's other people on the team that can say, well, here's some ways to think about raising capital and resources and go about taking the next step.
That makes sense. So we're focused on retail only, is that what it is for the
Yes.
entrepreneurship?
Yeah. You know, we can't do, you know, like preparation of any kind of food or any kind of business like that. So it's pretty traditional retail,
Mhm.
you know.
Do you guys need more help on that one with, because it sounds like the people that are moving into those things, they might use some, I don't know, some VC advisement or whatever that would be, right? Am I missing something?
Yes, yeah.
So I think one of the things that,
Do you want to?
The whole idea is basically those people are successful and we get business in town, and then, you know, everything else is good stuff.
I think one of the, so Bobby Joe Beers, I own and company, so thank you. I'm very excited to move forward with this. It's been it's a passion of mine. As Tony briefly mentioned, I was the executive director at the Bethel Chamber for a number of years. Decided to put my money where my mouth had been for quite a few years in business mentorship and sort of launch my own venture. And this project is something that's it's sort of been on my back burner for a long time. And I think one of the pieces that I think will be the most beneficial to people moving in or kind of getting involved with this program that I would like to, you know, get involved with and help develop is sort of coaching people even before they decide to come in and take it. And so I think this pop-up, this accelerator program is going to provide people in this area a wonderful opportunity to sort of flush out all of those sort of roadblocks before they come in, because so many people don't really understand what it takes to, you know, jump into entrepreneurship, and they just think, I'm really good at my job. I don't want to work for a boss anymore, so I'm going to go and start my own company. And it's so wrong on so many levels. There's so many other pieces to it, and I think this is what the most exciting part about this is that we'll be able to help people flush out all of their ideas and realize what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and we'll be able to help them help them fill in those blanks of those weaknesses that their business might have before they take the leap. Because the last thing, I did have a traveling chic boutique in that location. It was probably one of my biggest jump in without thinking, too close to my Brookfield store type thing, and I would have loved to have had somebody just put the brakes on that for me, you know, and take it, but it paved its way towards this. But the last thing we want to see on that street is another empty storefront and another hole, and that's what was so exciting about kind of this opportunity. So, I mean, I think hopefully that answers your question.
I was just saying, their success is ours. So
You know, so
that's pretty much how it works.
we're excited. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I just also want to remind everybody that the target that we're now looking to target startups that are just starting out. We're trying to find businesses that are already having success in home, out of home, mobile, and giving them the opportunity to scale. So we're not in that kind of like, hey, I got an idea and I'm going to prototype something and do it here. That's not quite where we are for this program.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, very informative. Question with regard to accounting and financials. Since Town of New Milford money helped get things on the road, do we have a formal accounting system at all of how this is tracked, how the money was spent? I know you briefly mentioned a few things tonight, but is there any formal accounting agreement with the
Yeah.
town, or?
Well, I don't know if there's a formal accounting agreement between the corporation and the town regarding that 25, but the corporation, you know, as our 501c3, the board, we kind of, you know, we have a treasurer and we track and have bookkeeping, you know, procedures in place to report and
That every
itemize
501c3
everything.
has to have.
Sorry?
That every 501c3 has to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
That's
But if there's
available?
specific details that you're looking for, I'm sure we can pull any report you'd like to see.
It's just always good, I think, for the community that supports a program financially, understands how the money was spent.
Sure,
That's all.
absolutely. And we, you know, every board meeting that we have or executive committee, we report on the budget. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of activity with the budget the last few months, but, you know, when we were active, we report on the budget on a monthly basis in our meetings.
Okay, thank you.
One last question is on the MOU. because I work, you know, you're busy running your business, but are you also the person that's going to be you're providing also the expertise and the training? So are we going to see that, or is that something that we don't see?
Well,
I don't know the answer.
yeah, it's
But
not
I want
all
to protect
on-
your business, but I also want to protect
Yeah.
the people coming in. You need a lot of, so where's, you know, that arrangement is pretty tricky.
So the Accelerated program is a corporation-led initiative, and Bobby
Okay.
Joe is excited to participate in it.
Okay.
And so we're not throwing it all on her shoulders. We're looking, sorry if I wasn't clear, we're looking to have a pool of different people with different experience levels on various topics. So if one business comes in and has a certain set of needs, we can say, you know what, we should line up these 6 people to spend time with the business to talk about whatever those areas
So you're
are.
going to pull in different experts that come in and
Yes,
help
yes,
facilitate
yeah.
the growth of this business. So, and that's going to be a different cost that's not yet, we don't know who those people are, what they charge, or if you're going to get this volunteer basis,
Yep.
based.
The source and use for that is the Union Savings Bank $10,000
The
grant.
10,000, okay.
And the use is, it's specifically earmarked for the mentorship program. So, and in talking to some people, and Bobby Joe's had the same experience, a lot of people we've talked to, actually, they want to help without receiving a stipend. So,
Great.
so I think we'll be in good shape. And we might develop other curriculum materials, perhaps, that require, you know, the use of spending some money to create. But that's all kind of in development right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great. Thank you, Ole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Exciting opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, item number 9, I'd like to move to approve the crosswalk request for the Candlewood Lake Club.
Second.
Okay, so as Mark is here, the reason why this is before you is because Candlewood Lake Road South is a scenic road. So being part of the scenic road, there's an actual process, part of it being the council. Mark, am I correct? We're going to have to set up, even though it's a sign, we're going to have to set up a committee. Mark, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, as I understand it, a change like this to the road requires the scenic road ordinance to come into play. So the town council has to, approve this change. And I don't know if they have.
We have to appoint, we have to, appointing a committee. That's what the council needs to do. That's the motion we should make for that.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
realize.
it's
It wasn't. I just have a question for you.
Sure.
Were the people that live in the area, on the scenic road portion, and really pointedly near this crosswalk, I mean, I know where it is, but were they advised that this was being brought up tonight or anytime?
Not by our department. I don't know
so
if
you could be painting a crosswalk and that somebody who lives there will be driving along and see something that they had no idea was gonna happen, right?
That's what the scenic road committee will do.
Well, yeah,
Right, there will be
okay,
residents on the
right.
committee.
So I'm just curious why we didn't have the scenic road people here first, or why did we didn't do that first?
We have to appropriate.
Okay, well, because if I lived down the road and I heard this, I'd be kind of wondering what the heck. Okay, so you want me to rescind my motion and,
You have to make a motion to create
I, will,
the scenic road
I'll
committee.
retract my motion,
Okay.
Track my second.
okay? Yes, what I'd like to move is the council to approve creation of a scenic road committee for the request made for a crosswalk at the Candlewood Lake Club.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Item number 10, I would like to move that we approve appropriation of $96,896.14 for the upgrade to the ALS fly car. This would be for the New Milford ambulance, and this would come from the town's capital reserve fund.
Second.
Thank you. And we have our ambulance group up here as well, if we have any questions for them. As we talked about last year, was the migration from the Medic 4 that was happening as a tri-towns. And what had happened was Trinity Healthcare decided to leave the district because they weren't getting any hospitals business, so they decided to leave the model. And then in speaking with Donna and the board, they felt it was better, as she's talked about before, that New Milford Ambulance be its own entity with its own way of doing it. As we had seen, and as people are experiencing all throughout the region, the loss of volunteers. So we've gone basically paid. And the goal is we are actually to provide the service that we want. We talked about a fly car, which they already have, but this appropriation of monies is to actually put in all the machinery and the things that are needed for the fly car. Mary Jane?
So the EMS program for the ambulance is merged with Nuvance, correct?
No, we're our own.
Okay.
We're not
So
part of Nuvance.
I thought there was a whole thing in the paper that, or the paramedic.
So the paramedic for, Donna, because I don't want to, Mary Jane, I'm not as well versed in it, so I'll have Donna talk a little bit.
So how does Nuvance come into this whole picture? With the-
We're not tied to Nuvance at all.
Okay,
All
so,
right, we have our own fly car with our own medic for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week now. Used to be the regional, as you well know, Medic 4, and Trinity decided they didn't want to do it anymore, and we just felt, New Milford Ambulance, and talking with the mayor, that it would be better for us to go along and just do our own medic. And we started as of July 1st, and it has proved to be excellent. It's been really, really good. We have our own medic in our own building that goes out, and if they're questioning the call, and it's the standard, what we call the BLS rig that goes out, the medic will wander out with them to check it out. So the citizen of New Milford is getting ALS care, someone checking on them, saying, nope, it's okay. They just need to go with the regular ambulance. It's a higher level of care for our townspeople.
so I guess I thought I read in the paper that, that the paramedic program for our ambulance and everything was going to be.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I thought I read in the paper that, unless I made this up in my mind, I don't know, that you were merging with the Nuvance,
No.
with their paramedic.
No, we have no affiliation with Nuvance. The other 6 towns, used to be 7 towns that made up the regional medic, and the other 6 towns have gone with Nuvance. They've got a
Alright.
contract with the hospital to supply a medic for them to go out to the 6
All right, well,
towns.
maybe, I guess that's what I read.
Yep.
I didn't
New
realize that
Milford's
New
not part
Milford
of
was
that
not
anymore.
part of that. Okay.
So, we had our own car, and we turned it. It took about 7 months dealing with the state, with inspections and paperwork, and trust me, a million meetings, et cetera, and approvals, but we got it approved. And as of, like I said, July 1st, we've been on the road, and it's been exceptional.
I think that might have just answered the question. I just wondered why it wasn't part of the budget, so I don't understand the timing process, the timing of it.
Because the contract with the region went from, to the end of June. And the end of June, it was like,
Yeah. Wasn't
that's
there.
when we started up July 1st.
And just for, a fly car is the first car that goes to a call, or just define that?
It can be, to explain it. During the day, we have 2 ambulances that are 2 crews, okay, on it. One is, we refer to as the ALS. In other words, it's a medic and an EMT. We have the second rig that goes out, or ambulance that goes out, is a BLS, basic level. It's 2 EMTs. It depends when the call comes in, 911, to dispatch. And they determine by the questions they ask the person calling 911 if a medic is required, or it's, help me, I've fallen, I need help. You don't need to send a medic out on that. But because we were losing the use of the medic, which we had from Trinity, okay, that if the ALS crew was out somewhere, it was like we needed a medic, we could use the regional medic. But like I said, as of July 1st, we now have our own medic in our own fly car. The fly car has everything but a stretcher in it, literally, and that's what
the big cost was. We had the vehicle already,
Yeah.
but you take the life pack, you know, you see the big, that's $40,000 right there.
Thank you.
Chris?
So this is for an upgrade. What does this get us beyond what we have? Because we're doing it now, I think I heard you saying.
We started it as of July 1st.
Oh, okay, all right, so,
Yep.
so this will just better equip what we have.
Yep, this is
Got
the cost of the equipment that we needed to make it
Got it.
a flat
Okay.
car, per the
Great.
state. This car gets inspected by the state, you know, et cetera. It's a long list.
it. I bet. Well,
You don't want the-
based on the
you
amount
don't
of
want the
backup.
details.
Based on the amount of backup on our packet, yeah, I can imagine, yeah. But thank you.
Sure.
Paul?
The vehicle is 7 years old?
Yes, it is.
How many miles on that vehicle do you think?
What are the miles on it? 12,000 over,
Okay, so
yeah.
the life expectancy of that may be for several more years.
Yeah, well, we're hoping within our
Okay.
capital budget that we'll be able to eke more money out to
Right,
replace
and all this
that.
equipment can be transferred into a new vehicle.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The radios, everything is brand new it's a 2017 Explorer, but
Right.
everything that's in it can be literally taken out and put in a new car.
Great, okay.
Yep. We did think ahead for that.
Last question, which is, the surplus went, other than going from tax relief and carryover, it went to the capital reserve fund?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I believe there's about 2.1 or 2.3, Hillary.
Thank
It's in the town capital reserve. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10B, New Milford Ambulance again. I'd like to move that we appropriate $28,833 for a 600 amp generator for the ambulance barn, and this would also be taken from the capital reserve fund.
Thank-
What did you say, Katie?
883.
883?
I'm sorry, $28,883, no cents.
And speaking with Donna, as we were going through all of our buildings, looking at needs and whatnot, we'll be bringing over the buildings during the course of the year. One of the things in talking with Donna, as we know, this is a 24/7, 365 operation, and that sometimes houses our emergency operations command. They also do the trainings for, whether it be the firemen, sometimes policemen, it could be regional. I had said, what about the generator? You guys should be pretty good. So then Donna kind of looked at me, and then, Donna, I'll let you explain to the
We
to the
discovered,
council.
actually, Arnie, our EMS operations manager, did a lot of homework on that, but basically, what he went and we called in Tower Generator, who we have come and maintained the generator, and we discovered that we thought we had this big generator that could run everything in the building. Somewhere, when it got installed, instead of having the full transfer switch, we got kind of shorted maybe a little bit when it was built in 2010. And we can run the heat, but we can't run air conditioning. And trust me, being in a closed building that you can't open any windows or anything, and you sit in the sun down there, when we had a couple years ago, we had a week of no power, it got plenty warm in there. So it would be good for us because now we have people that are in there 24/7 in that building. Unless they're all out on call, basically somebody's in there. But we said for running like the EOC, the emergency, hurricane, whatever it might be, you guys in the summer might appreciate some air conditioning in there because it would be tough to use it if we didn't have it. And what they would put in, believe it or not, it's that transfer switch is all that money, believe it or not. We can have air conditioning. There's some outlets we can't use, some computers we can't use. It's was a real hit or miss the way it got done. Little did we know.
So basically, Don, they gave you a 600 amp
Yep.
capacity, but a 225
Yep.
amp switch.
So we can't have everything.
Yeah, you can't run everything. Yeah, there's another no-brainer.
Is this an addition to or replacement of?
They would replace it with a bigger, am I right, Marnie? They would,
It's just the transfer box,
Yep.
it's not really the generator. Yeah.
but unfortunately, it tends to be expensive.
Yeah. Building building that size.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to use what we've got. We just need this one thing. And I imagine it's a lot of labor. They've got to run a lot, new lines and everything.
Yep.
Hillary?
So when was this done? When was this put in, the wrong amp or whatever?
It wasn't wrong.
Or
It-
just the two not juicy enough
Yeah,
amp?
which
right.
they thought was sufficient for what we wanted, and we've come to realize that, you know, things happen in the summer too, and it'd be nice to have air conditioning. I
Right.
mean, it's a closed building, it's not like you can open
Right.
windows or anything.
So did you have it last summer?
No, it was during built, this was when it was built.
Which is
2010, right?
when?
Yep.
2010.
Yeah.
So you've been having this has been
Yeah,
the way
well,
it's been
you
for
know,
10 years.
thankfully, we haven't had too many outages during the summer. During the winter, it's fine, we have
Yeah.
heat.
There's no doubt I think, of course, this is a yes, but, you know, there
I think
is
Hillary, one of the things,
totality of other wants
I think one
in
of
the
the things-
town. People don't have generators in their homes. I mean, you know, so there's
I think one of the things
questions
that
of if we
sparked the real concern was when Eversource came to the town and said, at any point in time, depending on how ISO our grid is and the demand on it, we can get rolling blackouts. They're not gonna be warned. They could just say, this part of New Milford, you're out. Shut out of power.
and then they're out, right?
Exactly.
It's not good. And then, yeah, okay.
And it would be really bad if we didn't have power.
Yeah.
Yeah, first responders really do need to
Yet we
have
kind of
power.
need
Yeah.
it, you know?
So that's new information. Okay.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Everything you do for everyone now.
Thank you, Don. Item 11, discussion and possible action. I'll let our assessor talk about the tax abatement requests. Two of
Thank you,
them.
Brian.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, Brian Lastra, assessor for the town of New Milford. I received 2 tax abatement applications pursuant to the town's tax abatement ordinance. The first one I'll talk about is BN Properties LLC. They own 248 Kent Road. They're in the process of putting up a 2-story manufacturing, assembly, and storage building. The building's located in the general business zone, and it will be used for the applicant's business, Eastern Connector Supply. And they make high-voltage electrical cable assemblies used to interconnect railroad cars for mass transit. So the applicant provided all the required details that I needed to analyze the appropriateness of this facility. I found that the project meets all of the eligibility requirements of the tax deferral ordinance. Number 1, the property is located in the general business zone. B2, the property will be used for manufacturing, assembly, and distribution, which is a requirement of our tax deferral ordinance. And the cost of the improvements exceeds the minimum investment, which our ordinance is set at $50,000. So using the current mill rate of $28.98 and the current assessment of the vacant lot, which is $148,170, the current tax levied on this vacant piece is $4,300. The assessed value of the property after the construction is complete will be roughly $703,000. So the town may award an abatement up to 100% of the increase in assessment, which is approximately $555,520. So the 100% abatement would result in an annual tax savings of approximately $16,100. So business personal property is not included in the tax abatement. So I estimate, based on the personal property that the company currently has and what they'll purchase new when they expand into this facility, will be approximately $6,000 a year for a facility of this size, and also motor vehicles. So that's pretty much what, how the tax impact lines up. Again, it's a business that is located here in town, is looking to expand, and, as I said, they meet the requirements of our tax deferral ordinance. Yes.
And the abatement is for,
Yep, the abatement is for 5 years,
thank you.
once the building is completed.
Right.
Yep.
So that's a $50,000
Right.
bonus.
Right, so when you add up the value of the abatement in terms of taxes, you're looking at about 80,500 over five years, right? $16,000 per year.
Right.
I notice, so you're also mentioning additional 6,000 a year in personal
Property tax.
property tax,
Yeah.
and also an additional 4 jobs created.
So,
Town.
we had an economic development director at one time, and she could talk more to that in terms of the economic spin-offs, additional jobs, and what that generates. Obviously, that's above my pay grade, so
Right.
I really can't comment on that.
Understood, but the application does show they expect 4 additional jobs from what they currently employ.
Yes.
Yep.
Right, the 50,000 I stated included I subtracted out the 6, right? So it's 50,000 of sort of full, of total credit. The problem that I'm having with all these tax abatements is that I feel like the nature of the ordinance is to sort of draw and entice and sweeten a deal to bring businesses in. But, businesses that are here and that have built their buildings, I just think it's a sort of a misappropriation of the, of the ordinance, in that, that business is going to stay in New Milford, and the building is built, right?
How do you know it's going to stay in New Milford?
Well, the building's built.
Well, Hillary, part of the reason
Isn't it
why.
built?
Part of the reason,
It's not built? It hasn't started, construction hasn't started?
Construction started, yeah. but-
construction started, but I can tell you in dealing with people that are looking at New Milford,
Yeah.
as well as a whole host of other places, lots of towns, especially in our area, have the abatement process.
Yeah.
The owner of 248 Kent Road already knew and saw our abatement policy, and that's what kept him here. If we didn't have that policy, we could have been vulnerable to that business moving to another town.
We've lost other businesses.
So
in the-
we have.
But I just
When we did
wonder,
this,
I
we had
wonder
this.
so when we're analyzing the return on investment and we think about, what it costs to have a business there, meaning like fire, police, I don't know what it is per square foot, what our cost is to have that spot. But, I do, when we give these tax abatements to storage units that don't provide jobs and to, this is 4 jobs, I'm just saying this is a consideration that we should all be just like, thinking through and talking about.
And Hillary,
Yeah.
I 100% agree with
Right.
that. But I also think we need to look at it outside of a 5-year vacuum. This building's going to be here for a minimum of 20 years. So if we, exactly, so if we look at, just say, a 20-year run, right? So for the first 5 years, the amount of the abatement is 80,500. Then, and I'm just using, which would be today's numbers, 5 years from now, it will be higher, more than likely in case we have a very bad economic recession. But let's just suppose that we're going to use the delta as the 16,100. So for the next 15 years, you'd be collecting $16,100. That'd be another $241,000
Right.
just there.
Assuming the business stays.
Then, well, that would be on the that would be on the building. Now let's go to the business. And so what Brian is telling us is that's about $6,000 a year that he's talking about just now that he knows. So that right there brings you another $120,000. So your return on your investment is $350, $360, around $370,000 differential than what it would be as if we did nothing there today.
And you're basing that on what's the cost of, how did you get that number?
I came that by using the 16,100 numerator
Right.
that Brian did
Yeah.
over 15 years because we're giving him 5
But
years.
what's the cost to the town?
What do you mean?
Police, of course there's a cost, infrastructure, we've got to take care of the roads and plow,
So for this particular instance, this is on a state road, so it'd be state DOT.
and does our police department go and our fire department, and there's a cost to have.
And what is great is that police car, great question, that police car is going to go right by there anyway, right? So in that respect, the cost of those incidentals would be more minimal than if we do housing. Housing is exactly what you're saying. When we get into housing, that's when you're looking at the exponential increases
Which
in
is our next
fire,
one,
which
right?
is fire,
Yeah.
yep, which is fire, police,
Right.
school. So those are all those costs there. But to me, when we're looking at all these growth rates that we see every year, because stuff contractually is going to go up, costs, inflation, everything else. So we have to look at every way that we can grow commercially, as long as it meets the criteria and it keeps the character of the town. Those help offset our taxes to our taxpayer.
And no long-term investments.
Absolutely.
You're putting a building up that's going to be there for the next 50 years.
So, I don't necessarily disagree with everything you're saying, but I think what you're talking about is the ordinance, right? Because we can't sit here and pick and choose which ones we accept, which ones we don't. If they, in my opinion, and Randy, tell me if I'm wrong, if it fits the ordinance. It does. Yeah, we can't really say no. We can't.
Yes, stop.
Because then it becomes arbitrary and we start to look, so maybe we need to look at the ordinance at some point if we want to use criteria.
Exactly.
Different criteria than what is today, but the way I look at it is, if it fits the ordinance, we can't say no.
I personally think 80,000 over 5 years to get back 350,000 is a pretty good return on investment in my book.
How does he know the building?
And this building could have just gone south a couple of miles. I would have been in a
Right.
deep-
We had our initial ordinance, and then we spent another 5 years crafting this ordinance with extremely smart people at the helm doing it. So this is basic math, right?
It runs parallel with other towns in the state. There's probably well over 40 towns right now in Connecticut that have an abatement program.
Yeah, we were.
And Danbury is one of the biggest ones.
Right, but there is, so my point is that the nature of sprawl is build, you know, so I'm just saying there is a conversation to be had about what makes sense for New Milford and what investments we should be making in our sprawl. So, right, and the question is $50,000, because the next one, I'm kind of bunching these together, and this is but you know, these two together, my question is exactly what you just said. Do we look at the entry of 50,000, is that outdated and should be, you know, $200,000, $300,000 of improvement to get that, you know, stamp of approval? So, there it is.
But I mean, listen, it's like any real estate investment. Are you going to put down $80,000 to make $350,000?
Well,
It's a relatively easy.
It's not
Easy
a
to
I don't know
subtract.
why, that's not a guarantee, it's not a guarantee, the 350. That's
Why not?
assuming that he stays past
It's a building-
5 years, the building could be vacant.
it's not the business, it's the building.
Right, but whoever owns it has to.
But whoever buys it and whoever goes in it is going to be paying those
If it sits
taxes.
vacant for 4 years, somebody's gonna pay
It's still
$700,000.
It's still going to get taxed no
My
matter
thing
what.
is, you're making assumptions,
Okay,
so.
so.
It's
can
not
we
an assumption, it's actually, it's the
I'd like to
reality.
stop
It's an
discussing
assumption.
Doug?
The taxes are going to be paid no matter what.
Doug has the floor. Doug?
So, in the overall sense, you're looking at a 20-year, and just like Pete said, it's be 20 years. You do the numbers, you go to $18,000 a year, you break it down to, because what you would make 300 and almost 360, 351,000. So it's no brainer. Regardless of what's in the building, it's like a house. If it gets sold to another person, they assume the taxes. So in the long run, it's a win-win, because you're bringing in a business, you know you're going to have the money. So it's almost like a 20-year plan of it. I understand what you're saying. The first 5 years not going to make money, but you have to look at the overall. It's like an investment in, like when you make a personal
Over
investment.
100 years, it was a treed lot.
Yeah.
For the past 40 years, I've been driving up Route 7 and seeing trees. No taxes. Now we've got a gentleman that wants to build a building, wants to stay in the town, build a bigger building, hire more people, and you're condemning it.
No, I'm not condemning it, I'm just asking the questions like, you know, Medden still, you know, all those, some things sound really good when they're starting out, and we want to look at what it means for the town in the long run. What are the guaranteed, you know, what's the guaranteed money coming in, what's the risk? And you evaluate, you say it's a good risk or it's not. So,
Like Tom said, it's simple math. It's a win-win.
Right.
And the risk is very low.
okay.
The building's going to be,
We
they're
vote.
not building a building that's going to get blown down by a hurricane. This is a building.
Steel building, it's gonna be.
No, that's for
around
sure.
Just how Medden.
That's for sure.
So there we go.
Okay,
We
so
have a
we
motion
have.
on the floor, right?
Well, I
There's no
didn't-
motion?
I'm
Okay,
going to
sorry.
make a motion.
We have Mary Jane, you had a
Yeah.
question?
One more comment, that perhaps maybe we should bring this tax abatement ordinance back to the council and have another look at it.
Feel free.
Talk about the purchase of that wonderful program that we created. Absolutely.
Yeah, by Mr. Szymanski.
Okay, I'd like to move that on item 11, are we done?
All the businesses that are staying.
Jesus. Okay, I'd like to make a motion, Paul, for item 11A.
One meeting, guys.
On item 11A, 248 Kent Road, move that we move forward with the tax abatement on BN property, 248 Kent Road,
Second?
5-year abatement, I want to say
Any
that.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Any abstentions?
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Wait, see if that, okay.
Yep.
Okay, item 11B, I'd like to move that we allow a tax abatement, also 5 years, Brian,
Yes.
on 25 Church Street.
Second?
Brian, could you give an overview on
Yep.
25 Church Street?
Okay, so this is right on Church Street, right across from Town Hall. Property owned by Scott Benincasa. He's proposing to build an 18-unit apartment building. So it's going to be a new 4-story multifamily apartment building, a total of 18 units. Of the units, 6 are designated as affordable housing opportunity units for a minimum of 40 years. 3 units are designated for families earning 60% or less of the median income for the New Milford, Danbury MSA, or the state median income, whichever is less. And another 3 units will be designated for families earning 80% or less of the median income for the New Milford, Danbury area. So the outline of the building is first floor is going to be an open parking area, parking garage, if you will, 13 parking spaces. Second floor, 7 one-bedroom apartments. The third floor, 7 one-bedroom apartments. And then the fourth floor, the top floor, will be 4 two-bedroom apartments. So a total of 18 apartments in this building. I analyzed our tax deferral ordinance and found that it meets the requirements. First of all, the property is located in the Village Center District. The property will be used for permanent residential use consisting of 4 or more dwelling units. I want to make note that the town's abatement ordinance, the permanent residential use only qualifies within the Village Center District, not anywhere else in town. So this will be the only time you'll see apartments coming for a tax abatement. It's got to be more than 4 units. It's got to be within the Village Center District. And again, the cost of the improvement exceeds the minimum investment of $50,000. So currently, using the current mill rate of $28.98, the property is assessed at $214,920. So it's generating $6,230 in taxes per year. The total assessment after the renovations for the 18 units will be $1.7 million. So we have an increase of $1,485,000. The tax on that at $28.98 is $43,000. So you're looking at providing an abatement of $43,000 per year for this project. With respect to personal property, there will be no real personal property added to the grand list. There's not going to be an office here in this building. Obviously, the tenants will have cars. So when you think about personal property, there's registered motor vehicles. So our average assessment for a registered motor vehicle in New Milford is passenger car is $10,500. So 22 parking spaces, we're probably looking at about $6,600 in taxes from motor vehicles. So that's pretty much the layout of this project.
Brian,
Katie?
question. How many parking spaces did you say they were?
They're, according to zoning, the approvals, 22. So 13 under
Okay,
the building, and then 9
Along.
when you drive in the
right,
parking
okay,
lot in the back.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Good.
Yeah.
And this is a 5-year also?
Yes, it's a 5-year
Okay.
also.
Thank you.
So the math on that is, so the total, 5 times 43,000 is what we would be. Mhm.
Right.
There's another question, Brian. The fact that the certain number of the apartments are for people at the 60% or lower, 80%,
Right.
does that have any influence on this?
Well, it does. It has an effect on the value. So,
Okay. How long does the owner need to carry that criteria, if you will?
right, according to the affordability plan, 40 years. So those units I talked about, 6 units, will be restricted in terms of their rents, if you will, for 40 years.
How is that followed through does your office check up on that?
State does.
It's, right, through a deed restriction. We don't get involved. We get lots of questions.
I'll bet, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm asking one now. So, okay, so then it's up to the state to follow through to see that this if it
Yes.
is not,
So-
if they do not follow that criteria, then what? What happens to the abatement? If it's the first, let's say it's the third
Right.
year, what happens?
Anytime you violate the original agreement, right, the abatement would cease. Right.
What if the abatement's over and you find out that they're doing it?
Okay, so after the abatement is over, they have to, this type of property owner has to have a clear procedure in place
Right.
for the rents. If we found out, obviously, that they had violated that, then we would return to using market
That's my
rent.
question. How do you find out about that?
So it's okay, first is, the abatement has really nothing to do with the affordable housing component.
Well, but it does.
It does not.
No, wait, I just
Right.
asked if
Right.
it had an influence.
It,
If this building, because of the fact they have these units that are gonna be people of lesser, they're taking in less money
Right.
than they are for the people who make more money. So it does have an influence on it.
Well, it would have an effect on the assessment, correct?
Right.
they could still get the abatement. If those were all market rate properties,
Yeah,
they could still get the abatement.
no, I understand.
The overall value of the property would be higher. Right.
Right, so the overall value of the property is lower because of these abatements.
True.
Because of the lower cost, not abatements. Okay,
What's
so,
Right, it's a market.
yeah, so the vehicle in place to, not the vehicle, but how this happens for you to find out or not find out within the 5 years is through happenstance?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's an
okay.
affordability plan that's
Yeah,
on file.
right.
The property owner has to have a manager that takes that.
Okay,
Right.
okay, thank you.
But Brian, just
It's like
so
that out
we're
in the
all
open.
clear here,
Yeah.
that this person could at any point in time, as far as the abatement that everybody's voting on today, he could say tomorrow, there's a whole list of other problems. As far as the abatement, he could say, nope, they're all market rate, this
Right.
would still qualify.
Yeah, so
Oh, yes.
there's nothing in
This
our.
has nothing to do with the affordable housing.
Right.
No, I know that, but I wanted to have it out into the
No,
world because
for
we
full
have had
disclosure,
other
Where-
right.
cases.
There's nothing in our
Right.
deferral ordinance about
Right.
setting aside affordable units.
Where it would affect the project is because this is an 830 project,
Correct.
830G, is that he can do higher density projects like he's doing over here because he's following 830G. And 830G states that he has to have that. So he has to do these for 40 years because that's how he got zoned.
Right,
Well,
whereas
he
the
could end up
other,
back in jail again, just like he started out.
and that's why we have another, but if.
I'm not gonna comment on people
Yeah,
like
I don't
that.
think so.
I have a question.
But that's where he ended up.
Go ahead.
Does the tax start when the assessment's done on the completed building?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need affordable housing, we need housing, so I'm so happy this is happening. However, I remember the meeting where this was, voted through. It was kind of through executive session because we were in COVID and, I remember, a former member of the council said, let's wait so that the public can weigh in. So that's still kind of, and the other thing that
That's kind of what.
I'm
finish your
troubled
sentence.
with-
You said that we wanted the public to
well,
weigh
that
in?
we, that this was approved through when it was an executive order instead of letting the town weigh in and come in.
It wasn't approved through an executive
Yeah,
order.
it was on
Whoa,
Zoom,
whoa,
it was,
whoa, whoa.
that's why you guys didn't have to have a public hearing on this, right?
Yeah, there was something about that.
Wasn't there?
Right.
And when was that?
No, public hearing was never, ever initiated. It had to be, it could have been by Zoom or by
Right.
alternate means.
Right.
It didn't have to be in person.
Right.
There
But
was
you
still a
didn't
public
have
hearing.
one, did you?
I have no idea. I'm not the town council.
Tell me, correct me if I'm wrong.
There were no shortcuts on this.
Yeah, no.
That I recall. No.
No, this took a long time
Anyway,
going through
let's
this.
not go back. We don't need to go back. So my thing is that I keep, noticing that the same company is kind of, working on getting the job on each one of these, there happened to be someone who sat here and was part of creating that ordinance.
So when
So
you start
I'm finding
disparaging someone's
no,
reputation
what I'm
against
saying
Jesus.
is I'm troubled by, call it a coincidence or whatever, but I feel like,
I'm
we're
troubled by-
doing these.
by all the-
You can throw things at me, but listen, I'm just talking about, I'm new to the council.
reputations in this
I
town.
am not.
Of order.
I am
Ms.
talking about a
Cosgrove.
prior decision about a building that's going up in our town.
Yeah. Prior decision.
Okay?
A
So
decision was
we're
made.
talking it through, the abatement is the last piece. So now come to learn that they're gonna get a tax abatement on top of all of this.
On top of
Go
that.
ahead.
I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
your comment.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to just understand it. Like,
Yeah.
what is your concern?
Well, my concern is that we've done 4 of these tax abatements and, like you referenced creating this ordinance. So, I just don't know how this ordinance came about. I want to go back and look at it, and that's what I'll do, because I
Finish your
just am not
sentence.
Should have
familiar.
participated
Created
back
four
then,
abatements
before you
and
got on
what?
this council.
I'm
Like,
gonna
a
go
lot
back
of
and look at
people
it, but
who come to
I'm
this
just
council
saying
room
that-
with zero experience on any board or
So-
commission. You should have been participating a while ago and listening to these meetings in the past. Understand, this wasn't just done willy-nilly. There wasn't one person, there wasn't an executive committee that voted on this. This has been these tax abatements have been discussed here for about 16 years, ever since the day I stepped onto the Economic
What
Development
was the
Commission.
year the ordinance was
So,
created? What was the
many
year the
years-
ordinance was created?
I don't remember it.
We don't remember?
I don't remember the exact
You should
year.
do your
the-
homework before you
Okay,
come
But
here.
you
all right,
should,
I
you
will-
should have
I will
participated.
do that.
Everybody could
Not
have.
wasting our
And
time.
you
we're
weren't
done.
here at the time.
By trying to
So are the
educate
rest of the
you.
people
No,
that
no.
complain on your side of the table.
I'm getting the
You should
facts.
actually participate in
I
these
think one of
meetings.
the things that we need to be concerned and cognizant about is that we aren't in a vacuum in New Milford. That we have to compete with towns that surround us every day. And they're very aggressive in trying to get business, and we need to be aggressive in getting business. As far as looking at different abatements, different things to look at, to me, the numbers speak for themselves. So tonight, you're looking at, if you approve this next abatement, you're going to be adding $2.4 million to the grand list. So, not to hold you to it, maybe have your calculator in your pocket over there.
Yeah.
But once the abatements are done, just using today's values, not any escalators or anything else, $2.4 million would equivocate to how much?
2.4 million?
Yep. In assessed value.
Are you talking tax? You're talking
Yep.
taxes?
Yep. Just the property taxes, not the build, not the stuff inside, not everything
Right.
else.
The 82 million. 2.4 million in taxes?
No, 2.4 million in value.
An
In
assessment.
value.
Right. What would that be with today's mill rate? What would that be as far as an annual payment?
And that's just the building you're talking about.
It's just the building. I'm not talking
even
about
the
trucks.
22 cars.
48,600 per year
Okay.
in taxes.
Times 20 years.
Times 20?
Yeah. Or 15, sorry, because we give it 5 years.
Yeah, 730,000.
So 48,000 a year in taxes, and how many, remind me total the number of units?
18.
18,
Yeah.
right.
You know,
No,
one-
that's both. That's this and the one we just approved together, just to.
Okay, I'm just talking about the units, so that we
One thing
can.
I would mention too is when I valued this property, I'm for assessment purposes, I have to look at, I'm valuing as of 2020, the last reassessment. So values of apartments have, increased, just like residential properties in general, probably up 40% since 2020. So, when this becomes taxable, the taxes will be more than what, I have.
But Brian, just
Yes.
to kind of finish it up, so we said how much was it going to be over 15 years?
What was the number over?
What's the number at the top of your head?
750,000?
Yes, 750,000.
Okay, 750.
How much?
And then you had stated here for just the 25 Church Street,
Right,
you're looking at just cars,
22.
right?
right.
You're looking at $66.94 annually,
Yeah.
and you were looking at $6,000, right, in equipment for
Oh, for
Kent Road.
for
Eastern
Kent Road,
Specialty,
right?
yeah, Eastern Connector.
So, if you have a calculator there, Brian, could you say what 12,694 times 15 years would equivocate to?
190,410.
How much?
190,000.
Okay.
Wow.
Right, so if you look at the cost of over a year of what it will cost the town to have residents, the number of residents in that building, that's another way to analyze. But I'm not saying we shouldn't do the building. I'm just looking at some of the particulars of what's going into our decisions.
Call the question, Pete. Can we vote on this?
Yes.
I just,
Second.
before
No, I
you do
made a
that.
call the
Yeah.
question.
All
Yeah.
right.
I second the motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's to call the question.
Oh.
Now we're going to vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
And Mayor, I'd just like to say something, you know, that you mentioned about we're not in a vacuum here in New Milford, and we do need housing, as you said, Hillary, very much so. And if we don't allow people to have an abatement, they only have to go a couple miles down the road into Brookfield, and we all know they've got plenty of property there, and they certainly are doing a good job of building apartments. So considering our need versus this, which is really not a bad thing, you know, you kind of said it that way, but it's part of the world. It's part of the way things are going now. It's not like it used to be. And these are new buildings. What more could we ask for, right? They're still going to be worth a lot of money regardless who's inside.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay,
I think
so
we need to start asking bigger questions.
let's move on to item 12A, under you, Mayor.
Thank you.
The municipal building ordinance.
Yes. So just as an update for the council, at the last municipal building committee, which was last Thursday, I had asked the municipal building committee to opine on the current ordinance and what they may or may not see as a change. They are setting up a subcommittee to review the ordinance, and then they're going to be bringing back our input. So I think that's very important that those that actually are going to be on the committee give us their input. I don't know, I'd have to defer to Randy if I could talk a little bit about the roof project under municipal building ordinance, or is that not in line with the agenda item?
Well, if I may, there's issues regarding the, I think you can generally talk about it, but I would not like to get into detail vis-à-vis the.
Could I add it to the agenda just as a discussion topic? Could we do
But I
that?
wouldn't get into too much detail vis-à-vis the specifications.
Yep. Is that okay if I update the council with is everybody's flavor with a quick update? Is everybody all right? Yep. Could you make the motion, Katie?
Yes, I will.
to add it?
I think we suspend the rules to add an item under A, we make it A1 of item 12, A sub 1.
Thank
To
you.
discuss the briefest of points on the high school roof.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
That's my motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So this past Thursday, I met at New Milford High School with our Dean Petroselli, who is our architect on record. I met with Mr. Manka, who is the high school principal. I also met with Matt Cunningham, who is the facilities director. Met with two representatives from Greenwood, which is the current contractor. Also met with Steve Patello, who is the manufacturer's rep for Garland Industries. Also met with the attorney for the bond company that really is running the project now, and also met with two of their representatives, plus representatives on the phone with Kerma, our insurance carrier, and Jack Healy was in attendance representing the town as well. And the reason why I brought all that up was I wanted to bring the council up to speed, and Randy did talk about, as we're trying to negotiate different aspects of the roof project. There's some stuff that we can say and some that we can't say as of right now. One of the things I did want to assure the town council is that everybody's working to make this happen. Everybody knows. So for the actual installation of what is up on that roof, we're at about 96%. And speaking with Greenwood, as long as the weather holds, we don't get a lot of rain and a lot of issues with that, the flat roofs, hopefully within the next week to week and a half, will be completed. With that being the case, then the high school roof itself, besides some of what we call punch list items, so those are things that are kind of left over, that project will be pretty much completed. I did ask them about the actual screws that are in there. Contractually, we asked for 2. We have done an audit and saw in some places that there are 1. So currently, the bonding company who runs the project, as Randy can tell you, is looking at how they can make the roof project work, how they can see if there's 2 in the 40% of the roof that the former contractor did. How can they do that? Are there scans they can do? So they are going to be working on a plan and a process. So what you are going to be seeing is the contractor will be leaving the site because they're done. The bonding company then would decide how they want to proceed, whether bring these guys back, hire somebody else. That's going to be their decision. They are going to take some time in figuring out, engineering design-wise, how they're going to answer our questions, because as I told them, we are extremely concerned for a few matters. One, contractually. We've asked for 2 screws, that's in the contract. 2, as I explained to them, is our most precious asset that we have in our town is our kids. So we want to make absolutely sure that there is no safety, there is nothing that can happen, things can fly off. I let them know that we had a microburst into Milford, and I believe it was 2019, 2018, so we all need to be cognizant of that. I wanted to make sure that Principal Manka and Matt Cunningham had the reassurances from the contractor so that they could begin to prepare for opening of school, what materials would be on there, what's not going to be on there, kind of a heads up. So we had this meeting. We're going to continue to talk once the actual bonding company gives us their methodology of how they're going to talk about these 2 pins and how we're going to move forward from there. But I just wanted to update the council on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kate.
Okay. We all set on the...
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering about it was just stated that you've created a subcommittee from the MBC to revisit the ordinance?
The Municipal Building Committee did.
Right. So, I'm confused. The committee that is responsible for, kind of the thing that we're all talking about is now going to be in charge of creating the solution?
No. They're going to make recommendations
Right.
and bring it to the council.
Excuse me, the
Okay.
committee
Okay.
is not
So the-
responsible for the
Okay.
errors and the fire.
So they're going to
You
make
keep
their
saying that,
recommendation, and then
Hillary,
we will have
honestly.
our own conversation
Correct.
about what, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
I just
If
wanted
you
to
say
be
it
sure.
often enough, maybe you think it'll just be true, but it's
No,
not.
no.
It's just a committee, come on. Honestly.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Next.
Let's talk about item B. We'd have an update on the opioid settlement committee.
So just briefly on the settlement committee, I believe we're going to be coming into some more funding, which is going to be great news. I have spoken with some individuals that, as we talked about as a council, should have some professional knowledge on some of them. Some should be people that have actually gone through addiction or family members. Some of the other ones, and the reason why I didn't ask to have some of these populated is they have to go through their HR or corporations to see if they're allowed to do that. So I'm hoping to bring back some names for you guys to vet at the next meeting. I would like to ask, and this may be another thing that we add onto the agenda, Randy, and it just depends on the committee tonight, was that this opioid settlement money, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the charges that it is for education and for looking at ways to create awareness. Am I correct?
Yes, that's part and parcel of the outline in the statute.
And seeing as we are going to be getting more money than the $67,000 that we had, we did hear from Sergeant Scholar, and we did hear from Coach Tony that they, with their awareness, both their run and both of their awareness event, that it's tough for them, especially when it comes to police costs, as he came up here several times to talk about that. I spoke to the chief and asked him what those costs are, and it runs about $4,000. So what I'd like to ask is the council, currently we have no committee, but if the council would be okay with adding this to the agenda and approving an appropriation of up to $4,000 so that that can pay for the police department, so that it doesn't put such a burden on this event.
That's the oversight of the PD for
Yep.
the race.
We're
Yeah.
Correct.
looking at it as a one-time thing, not an annual cost, just one time.
So why not annually?
That's a discussion that we
We
could
don't
have,
know what
but
they might be doing.
You can't do an annual appropriation
No.
here.
No, it's
It's a budget.
Right.
It's a budget.
right, like every year. Yep. Hillary?
Do you have any sense of what's coming in? You've said there's more coming in, but do you know that amount, or roughly, or no?
Roughly, I think it's going to be at least 100,000 more.
Wow.
It could be even more than that. It depends on the
That's
settlements.
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So for the group that's going to recommend to the council or the council itself, it's going to be a larger sum of money than we thought.
So Pete, we have the okay to delegate that $4,000 before
Right
the
now.
committee, right?
All right, just
And-
making sure.
It's our responsibility every
Just
time
making
anyway.
sure,
And-
it's
and
all,
don't-
i's
yeah.
are dotted, t's are crossed.
Yep, and Doug, the opioid committee will be charged. They'll bring the recommendation to the council. At the end of the day, the council's the one that appropriates the
That's
fund.
awesome. Okay, good.
So do you have a motion to suspend the rules?
Well, let's finish the discussion before we do that. Who exactly, are we going to put this to the Brian Cody law? Are we doing this to Sergeant Scholars?
I think they're the same.
It's an event, so it could be just for that
Right,
event.
so, but the name of it in here is the third annual United States Marine Corps Sergeant Schoolers Annual Overdose Awareness 5 and Recovery Festival. So we're really just talking about the 5K. We're not working about.
We'll do that in the next agenda.
I would put them both. Because
Okay.
I don't know how
The whole
the
weekend
chief,
is got
right, I don't know how the
education.
chief has it.
Okay, so here's my motion. I'd like to move that we appropriate up to four,
You have to add the motion items to the agenda.
suspend the rules and add this item to the agenda. It'll be item B, sub 1.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adding to the
Aye.
agenda?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so the
Thank you.
motion is to appropriate up to $4,000 for the 2023 Third Annual USMC Sergeant Schoolers Annual Overdose Awareness 5K and the Recovery Festival to be held on August 27, 2023.
Second.
And
Well, but the-
I have to get where the fund's coming
Yeah.
from, appropriate from the opioid
Settlement.
settlement funds.
Put it to the Milford Police
To-
to cover their
right.
costs.
To the New Milford Police to cover the costs of traffic.
Whatever it is that
Control.
they need.
Whatever the
Yeah,
security
right,
traffic.
right.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Pete, were they aware that this was going to happen tonight?
Were they? No.
No.
Will be a pleasant surprise for them.
Yep.
They should have stuck around.
Alex?
That's a great idea. And I wonder, are there other expenses we might be able to help with in this particular case because
Uh,
it fits? You just thought of that one, but I know there are lots of expenses, all the porta potties, everything else too. Might that be something that could come next
Well,
time?
it's not until August 27th,
Right,
so they
so
could
could-
come back.
maybe.
We have a meeting, one meeting
That's
in
certainly going to
August.
be a help.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
This is just covering the security at this point in time.
Correct.
You can always come back to us.
Are you done with the B? with our opioid settlement?
Yep. We have to
We didn't
vote on
vote
it.
yet.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
That's very good.
Thank you.
Okay, now are we done with D? Okay, item number 12C, economic development update from the mayor.
Not be a C1.
Better not be a C1, that's right.
Could be a D1.
We haven't started yet.
Oh, we already did.
Could be a C2.
We already did C1
Right,
earlier.
rough
the
crowd.
COPPA.
I could go back, actually, because I don't know.
COPPA. You could go back?
Now,
Oh,
How much does it cost to educate a child?
okay.
Good point.
So some updates, economic development. The employment rate in New Milford as of June 2023, with a labor force of 15,197. Fully employed or partially employed, but they consider it employed, is 14,682. Unemployed is 515, which is at 3.4%. We're about even, a little bit lower, maybe by a tenth of a point in some areas. Want to congratulate Brandon and Emily Merritt as they had the grand opening of Nordica Toys on Main Street. That was Saturday. It was great to see all of people coming in and checking that out. And it's a wonderful toy store. Has great items, whether it be a selection of toys, stuffed animals, games, more. Please go and help support small businesses. And want to thank the Merritts for not only their investment here, but they also are involved in building trades as well. Want to congratulate Kayla Levidici, and she's the manager of Great Clips, as they opened in the Big Y Plaza. There, it's a hair salon on 1 Kent Road. And thank you to the organization for them to put their business in New Milford.
Yeah, they're doing very well.
Building permits as of last week. We had 32 applications, 46 inspections, 58 permits that were issued. And here's something I thought was really amazing. So I took a 3-year track run. So over the last 3 years, building applications was 6,223. They did 8,760 inspections. They gave 8,278 permits issued for a total of $1,999,649.83 in fees collected. That's an average of $666,549.94 a year. And as I told the council before, was actually they broke 700,000 this year, which I believe is their all-time high, which shows really, the power of our economy. And that's not just commercial, that's also, you have residential, you have people that have come into New Milford, they're renovating their houses. We're seeing new building houses, whether it be, not big, huge projects, but people coming in. We have one that's, I believe, up on the lakes, like $1 million renovation project. So we're seeing those, ones or twosies, new builds as well. So that all poses well for New Milford. Wanted to talk a little bit about East Street School and where we're at with East Street School. The Board of Education had turned over the school to us on June 30th. On July 3rd, I had asked Jack that we bring in an air hygienist to take a look at the building to make sure what's happening. We should have the analysis back from the hygienist hopefully by the end of the week, and I will be sharing that with the council. After that, what I'd like to do is begin tours for the town council and our Board of Finance members to take a look at the school. Once that's completed, then I'd like to do the first of 3 tours for the public to come and view their building, because that's what it is. It's the public's building, for them to come and assess. Then in September, I'd like to hold the first public meeting to hear public input of what we should do with this school, because it is the public that does that. Also, I've hired Dean Petroselli for an analysis on the building itself. And so what is going to be analyzed is they're going to interview building staff and custodians to determine how the building and its systems currently operate, and any systems concerned that should be one of the focuses of the team of architects, so we kind of know what we're getting. mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. They're going to conduct architectural and engineering investigations at the building. They're going to generate a PDF floor and site plan of the building that may be used to tag locations of concerns if there are any, and that will be indexed to a narrative findings and report for the entire project. Once this is completed, I will give this to the council and the public at large so that we could see what our building is about. The report will also include recommendations and potential costs, as well as priorities to the findings. They're going to conduct a high-level general code evaluation of the building as it relates to likely future uses, conformance with current codes, and any significant accessibility issues in accordance with the ADA. They're also going to recommend commonly approved modifications to the building and fire codes that can be requested of local building and fire officials at any time. And what that basically means, he's going to be talking with Fire Marshal Kevin Reynolds, Building Inspector Bill Murphy. He's going to develop conceptual level estimates for the repairs or minimal necessary renovations that will be categorized into 3 or 4 levels of priority so that the council can develop this within our study so that we know. They're going to renew the initial findings with the New Milford staff, which will be our DPW team. Once that's completed, then we bring that to the council. I've also asked Dean to attend virtual staff meetings and also to present these findings to our town council. So as this continues to move forward, I will apprise the town council as we move forward with that. Yes?
What is this going to cost for Dean Petroselli?
So his cost was $16,000. Let me get it exactly for you. Exact amount of money. I think it was $12,600.
So, just a quick question, why not check out, put this out to bid and have other architectural firms, possibly bid on this whole proposal?
Because we just got this school, and unlike when the school was changed over to Pettibone, where there were many unforeseen issues, I wanted to make sure that we had boots on the ground right away, as soon as we got it, to do an assessment.
Well, I would think it would be prudent to have a couple other architectural firms, get a couple other bids.
I appreciate that, but as of the ruling, as our town attorney can say, professional services, we have the ability to hire, and that's what we did. And Dean Petroselli has a very extensive resume. You can look it up.
I know they do,
He's
but
done lots
it's
and
like,
lots of buildings.
yeah, he has, and it
Sounds
seems
awful
like
cheap, too.
they do absolutely everything in New Milford, and perhaps it's possibly time to be looking outside the one firm that does everything.
They do lots of work in lots of towns. They're very popular because they're good.
Randy, does that conform with our purchasing authority? Thank you, Randy. Okay. Next is, real quick, our ice cream crawl that we're having. It's very, very successful. Lots of newspaper outlets and a couple TV outlets have talked about our ice cream crawl. We have a lot of people participating in the ice cream crawl, which is great for our businesses here. And we'll be doing some other things as well after the ice cream crawl, some other initiatives as well. Our New Milford Now website continues. We're seeing some growth in that as well as we've tied that into the ice cream crawl. Seeing a lot of people both in town and our visitors using that. And then our Economic Development Commission is continuing to work on the developer's guide that we'll be giving out to those that are looking to either grow their business, expand their business in New Milford, or also come to New Milford. And that's what I got on economic development.
Thank you. Item 12D, an update, discussion update
Yes.
on the Fair Rent Committee.
Thank you. I attended the Zoom meeting. Thank you, Katie. You were on there. And Councilman Murphy was on there. I didn't see anybody else as I was kind of scrolling through. Oh, okay. I didn't see anybody else, but if I did, I apologize if I didn't see it to recognize you.
There were so many.
It was a great, Zoom call. Learned an awful lot, and some of the takeaways that we did learn was, and I'll preface this, Executive Director of the New Haven Fair Housing, Wiltizla Bermuse. I'm probably torturing her name, and I
Right,
apologize
right.
if she ever sees this. I did ask after the meeting, I gave her a call to see if I could talk a little more with her. But they talked about how they've been one of the oldest fair rent commissions in the state. And some of the things, how do they work? What are some of the things? And I thought it's very important as we build out our commission. And there were lots of other towns, as Randy can opine, that are still going through the process as we are, because it's new. But some of the things that I wanted to alert the town council is some of the needs, and these will be needs that'll be costs, and these costs will be, we're gonna have to figure out and talk with Greg as to where we're gonna come up with funding. So the first thing is the need for staff. New Haven is a much larger enterprise than we are, obviously. They do have the executive director, and I believe she has 1 or 2 staff with her, but I mean, they're much larger than us.
Right.
And what I mean by need for staff is, one of them is, we are absolutely going to need an attorney. And with New Haven, that attorney, as we talk about a little bit more when it comes to the formation of it, that attorney will have to, as they do, because they have corporate counsel there, is that attorney's at every meeting. So as we look at billing in a cost, you're looking at every meeting.
Every hearing.
No, they have 2 meetings, so I'll jump into that, I apologize. So they have, which they thought was very beneficial to that. You're gonna have a person that's going to fill out an application, either online as they have it, or in person. What happens is, this is what I'm talking about, staff. So then the staff will then ask them if they have any questions, review, making sure that the application is complete. And then what will happen is the committee then will have what's called an informal hearing. And what they found out is, through a mediation process, a lot of times they can work with just the landlord and the tenant and the committee together trying to work this stuff out. If that's the case, then that's great. Then that finding goes on the public hearing. So you'll have 2. Now, if in fact they can't have a resolution, then that's a full-born agenda item that will be on the Fair Rent Commission's agenda. So I'm sorry for jumping around back and forth, but with that being the way that is, right, to build it out, we are going to need a secretary.
Absolutely.
And that secretary is going to have to be there for a minimum of 2 meetings. And when I talked to Wiltinza, and I apologize for wrecking her name, she was telling me they do the maximum of 4 of these a meeting. They can't, it just gets too much.
Right.
So 4. So if you figure that, especially if we're beginning this, you're gonna get a big onslaught in the beginning of cases. So you may have to call special meetings. And those special meetings obviously is gonna need the attorney and the secretary
Yeah, 'cause
on that.
doesn't the ordinance state you have to get through the process in a certain period of time, right? 30 days
Their-
or something?
Yes,
Well-
and their process that they talk about, which again, as I'm talking about staff, is what New Haven does is you apply. They review it. They then send you an email saying, we have received your application, it is approved, it will now go to the committee. And then the committee, whatever their time frame is, depending on how busy they are, they will either mediate first, and if that's completed, then they send a summary of that to both the landlord and to the tenant. They do all of their meetings via Zoom. They do no in person. And the first thing I'm thinking about was why, but she made a lot of sense. She said, first of all, for the tenant, there's a lot of tenants that work 6, some do work 7 days, and they can take that hour off and do a Zoom call where it'd be tough to take a whole day off. And number 2 is the landlords themselves may not even live in the town.
Right.
They may live in a different state. And it seems to be for them way easier that they do this via Zoom. So my recommendation would be we do these as Zoom meetings. Why reinvent the wheel if they're successful with these?
And they decided on that because of the fact that
Correct.
they couldn't operate in in a reasonably timed manner because of the people not being able to come to an in-person meeting. So
Right.
that is something good that you learned that.
So kind of recapping real quick again, how it would work is you would have the tenant filing the complaint online or in person, right? And it's gonna if it's in person, it has to be a designated office. So we have to figure that out, at least in the beginning, where that office is gonna be, okay? And then, it becomes an investigation by the staff. And what I mean by investigation is you just wanna make sure that the application is complete. Because you don't wanna keep going back and forth and accurate.
Too. Accurate, that
Then you
one
have
side
your-
doesn't do
yep.
say something
Then you
that's
have
not
your
true.
informal hearing, and if that's not successfully mediated, then you're gonna have your public hearing before the Fair Rent Commission, as well. So as you can see, the backbones of this there's going to be some costs. So I'm working on those costs for you guys now. I'll be talking with Randy what his thoughts are gonna be for attorney costs. Looking at 2 to 4 to 6 times a month, especially in the beginning, what that's gonna end up costing. Secretary and everything else. And the one thing that they were definitely talking about here was you wanna make sure that you have it set up in the beginning right. That was, as they were going through the process many, many years ago, they found that, the more precise you are, the more streamlined it is, and the better it is for all parties. So,
Hey Pete, just a quick question. Do any of these towns have like a paid person?
they are paid, they're all paid.
That's what I'm saying, so. you're
On
gonna
the
have to-
committee, I think.
Oh, committee
You mean the
members
committee?
are not paid.
Okay.
The staff is paid.
The staff is, okay.
Secretary and
My
attorney.
thinking, just the contrast, a smaller town. I mean, this is, I
Right.
think this is
Yep.
great,
Well,
a
here-
great
Right.
bones, and then maybe just see like, oh, how does Hampton?
Here was one of the unfortunate things that there was someone who was coming from West Hartford who had a lot of knowledge. They've done this, they're a little bigger than we are. And however, she couldn't make it. So the host that was running it, she said that they hoped to, because I asked her about that, it was all good and well to hear this, however, and she said they were going to try to have another session. And, because clearly not everything that applies to them would apply to us, but the basic structure and the process, it sounds like the best way
staff
to
goes out
approach it.
and does all their due diligence and brings that to the committee. They'll
So-
go
The
review-
application is what the staff.
Yeah, so what the
looks at.
staff is looking at in the beginning is the application. Is it all filled out? Is it all correct? Because the staff cannot, Randy, tell if I'm wrong, but the way I interpret it is, staff doesn't make a decision whether it meets the criteria or not. That's the commission.
But he mentioned that they go to the place to look.
No, the staff
No.
just reviews the application, makes a determination whether it's a checklist, whether it's
Sure.
compliant. Matter of fact, Hillary and I
Yeah.
did this when we did the ordinance, checklist, and then it's a hearing
Okay.
that the committee holds to determine whether or not it's outrageous or fair or
Right.
not.
Right.
So the staff has to process all this paperwork.
Right.
We need a staff.
That's what-
We're gonna
yeah.
need to. And-
So
to do this right.
if it's correct information, and they can, with the first meeting, the committee comes up with what they have to say, they make their ruling or whatever, and it's sent to the landlord and the tenant.
I understand.
And if they get to the point where they said, no, we don't want that, then they have to come back and have a real hearing, which again,
No, I understand. My question is, say the tenant has a complaint about something not being fixed or something. Who goes there? and
Nobody
deter-
goes there.
Okay, so how would you determine?
Evidence that they bring in or they provide.
Right.
of that.
They
So
would-
the
they
tenant
would-
has to provide all
Well,
that?
yes.
Okay.
Just
Now,
like
the
the
I
reality
thought
is
the
that
staff
the
had to
rep-
go to the place, okay, so the tenant provides all that.
Right, the rep may be affected by something that doesn't work.
And the commission can call for
Right,
people to go.
so the tenant has to do that legwork and the landlord has to do their
Yeah,
legwork, okay.
Right.
It's
So
a
the
pretty,
landlord
it's a
can
pretty
say whatever they
efficient
want, too.
process.
Yeah.
But many of them settle as Katie and.
It never gets to that.
And my
Very
question
rarely
is,
gets
is
to
the
that point.
attorney, does the attorney have to be in that first meeting where it's just
I think
between
it's-
the
remember we
landlord
talked
and
early
the,
on?
Yeah.
that's the
In-
We
question.
talked early on, I think you need an attorney from the
At
get-go.
each
Absolutely.
one.
Reviewing
Okay,
it
okay.
every meeting.
Okay.
They stressed that, the
Yeah.
New Haven.
Remember we talked
director
about that
stressed
early
it.
on?
Yes,
Should be
Have to
that's
have
right.
an attorney.
Okay.
Because if I'm the plaintiff or whatever, I could make a fuss and say, hey, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. I want an attorney.
Really?
Yeah.
We had those, what was it, 6 or 7, list of 6 or 7 criteria.
It's more than that now.
Oh, yeah.
Has that changed?
It's 13.
13.
So our ordinance is already outdated.
No,
No, it's in there.
It's by statute. So we incorporated the statute into the ordinance.
So was it always 13 then?
Yeah, it was always.
Okay, all right.
And
All right,
even
so that
was
hasn't
13
changed.
before it was required to be us, when it was over
Right.
25, over 50,000.
Okay, okay.
Would this be a
I thought
part-time
it was
staff,
eight.
full-time staff?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Well, that's what
Depends.
we gotta sit down and
Okay.
talk, because right now, as they talk, some of the other, towns have done it differently, like some of them run it through social services.
Okay.
But when you talk to Ivana, they are flat out right now.
Right.
Other ones use land use. Right now, you talk to Laura, that's the busiest they've ever been. So you've got people that are flat out. There's really no bandwidth. So this may end up being, having to add additional staff.
Can I make a suggestion? I talked to some lawyers on this, and you're gonna need a lawyer. It's gotta be somebody other than my firm, and so you're not gonna get the same rates. But, though, you have to have one. I'm telling you. You have to.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is that you got 150 units coming in.
Right.
Rental units. So you're gonna be very busy, and my recommendation is, you're the bosses, but my recommendation is, you have this infrastructure in place. Because those one-year leases come up pretty quick.
That's right.
And it's hard to do it on a reactive way. And this is just anecdotal discussions with other lawyers. So-
And Randy, it
Chris?
can't be from your firm?
No, I don't think that's a good idea. And the reason for, I represent the town of New Milford,
Yeah.
and the reality is that you have almost like a consumer advocate who's gonna be the attorney. Kind of being almost, if you will, a referee. So.
Right, so being
I
an impartial
think it's-
referee, impartiality.
Yeah, and I don't think you should be a town of Milford advocate. My opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm asking your
Chris?
opinion.
Mayor, so, and Randy, maybe this is for you as well. I recall the ordinance correctly. That defines the period of time a complaint has to get through the system.
Right.
Regardless of how many complaints we have.
That's why you have to have an infrastructure.
So, in the beginning,
You better be ready.
yeah, in the beginning, you're gonna
But
totally rush
then
it.
So there could be 15.
Right, but if we're not
15.
prepared for it in the beginning, then we're.
Then we're already in the
20
weeds.
Or 30.
We're already in the weeds if we don't
Yeah.
prepare for it. Ivana, I talked to Ivana, and she said the people are asking when it's gonna happen, because every town is delayed on this. Every town. We're probably waiting for this program.
So, good, new jobs.
The taxpayers got to pay. It's not the kind of jobs most of us are looking to
We're
fund.
talking about all the money we have.
Where was
This is
this
great.
one from?
This is great news.
New Haven.
New Haven.
And did she give you a basis, obviously they're larger roads, but did
yeah.
she give you a basis, how much they go through? How many people they go through?
Well, they've now been doing it
They've
for
been
so
doing it
many
forever,
years.
forever.
When we're brand new.
Right.
She just told us that the most she could do, they could do is in a meeting is full.
So when a
That's
town begins it, you have people champing at the bit because they want to know how to get this handled.
And
We
the
have
30, and when
landlords.
does a 30-day start?
30 days start when you receive the application.
Complaint.
A complete application.
Yeah, yeah.
So a
But
deemed
you're not gonna
complete.
be able to not you. One is not gonna be
Yeah,
able
I'm
to
not
horse around
Which,
with that.
not to get into the weeds, which
Because-
is why it's gonna be super important.
In other words, you're gonna
Right.
have an issue that,
What I mean by complete is, we all know if you deal with anybody in the public and you do something, particularly if it's online, or even when they have to mail things in, not everything is sent in when it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, right,
So
right.
if in a timely manner, the staff person or whomever goes back to John Smith and says, John, you forgot to fill this in, and he comes in and does it or whatever. But again, a timely manner.
yes, let me tell you how you handle that. You handle that by way of bylaws of the committee, because they're supposed to do bylaws. So the 30 days should
So
run from
that's
the date
covered.
of complete application.
Got it.
Almost like zoning.
Yep, okay.
It's not zoning, don't get me wrong,
No,
but it's almost that same
right.
principle.
That's a good idea.
It's just, Randy, to me, it seems like if you're gonna get a complaint, say daily, all right, and you're gonna have a committee only meeting at certain times, and you say you get a whole week of it, and it has to be 30 days from each complaint, the committee's gonna be like Zooming almost every day.
They're gonna be Zooming every week, I bet.
Yeah, I mean,
But the
it's-
reality is that the 30-day period is gonna be calculated from the time of complete application.
I understand
And then
that.
it has to go through the staff, and then, I mean, the staff's gonna review it, and then a date will be set, almost
Right.
immediately. But the two parties are gonna talk first, and many of those are gonna be set, many
Yeah.
of those are gonna be resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's just gonna be a lot of work for the staff in the
Oh, the
beginning.
staff is, that's why I said you
You're
have
gonna
to
need
have a staff.
experienced people
It's a-
in this.
It's
You
gonna
can't
be,
just get
it's
a
gonna be a
one-man
bureaucracy.
Carried away.
Can I-
Accept the application.
Yeah.
Accepting the
Randy,
application.
do you know of any
It's not
towns
like
that have collaborated? So let's say we had New Milford and we have, let's say Brookfield for argument's sake, one office to handle the staff stuff.
I do not know of any towns, I talked to Janice, the Wallingford city attorney, and
Right.
they said they do some regional stuff. They have their own
They have their
body
own
for this.
office for this, right?
You know, you really, and it's within your borders, if you will, and your appointments of your individual committee members are for your committee.
Right.
So I don't think it would be behoove
No, I
us.
was talking about just the
You
processing
mean the clerical stuff?
of intro, you know, let's take Sherman as an example. There you go, Sherman, small. If they have to have a committee as well, they have to.
No, they don't. They're under
They're
25,000.
below threshold.
Oh,
Only
they
over
are too small.
25,000.
Right, okay, so I'll go back and say. Brookfield.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Just the
Brookfield's
staffing
19,000,
thing I'm
isn't it?
talking
Brookfield's
about.
good.
Is that 25,000?
Oh, wait, Brookfield is too
It's
small.
19,000, I
Yeah.
thought Brookfield was. They don't need
Is
one.
They
it?
don't need one either.
They're too
Oh,
small.
I thought they were over 20.
They're
Danbury.
gonna pretty soon. Oh, Danbury has one.
Danbury's already got it.
Yeah.
They've had it for long.
87,000.
Oh.
All right, so.
Well, then we're on our own.
At our next meeting, I'll bring back more information, some costs of how the operation is gonna be, and like where, speaking with Greg Asapow, where we would take the funding from.
And I want to ask the host there, Sandy, contact her, I told her that I would follow up, when they're going to have another Zoom that would be more focused on smaller towns, because this, between Hartford, the woman from New Haven, but the person from Hartford spoke a lot, I mean, a lot. That, but really had nothing, he was an attorney also.
All right.
Ray?
Can I ask?
Sure.
Just one quick question. Since it might be a question about the charter, but can members of the council submit agenda items that are definitely going to get on, or is that still your discretion? I read the charter and I was confused,
So it'd
because I
be
was
at-
wondering
would
if we
be
could
at
add the Board of
mayoral discretion.
Education central office as one of these sort of recurring, so we get an update every meeting. Remember how we talked about we were going to try to be communicating about it? Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll talk to.
What?
They don't have to comply with it.
Right. I'll talk with,
No. What I'm saying is an update on the finding a central office for the Board of Ed as an item that we hear about, like we've heard about.
right now, I've been talking with the superintendent.
Great.
And just trying to get a feel for them as to the needs.
Mhm.
But absolutely, we'll put that on there. Sure.
Sorry.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody.